Is your eating programmed? Do you notice when you eat, or do you eat mindlessly? Do you eat because you're bored or stressed, tired, or you need a break because food is available? Or what are all of the other reasons that you eat? And where does because I'm hungry actually fall into this whole assessment and process? It's usually not the top answer. Good morning, welcome to Mental Fortress Mondays. I'm Dr. Cheryl Carthouse, naturopathic doctor. Our mission here on Mental Fortress Mondays is to explore the who, what, where, when, why, and how of mindfulness and mindfulness-based practices, and how they impact our physiology, our ability to think and perform in work and hobbies, and really how they impact our overall quality of life. I started this series to provide support to develop mental resilience during our recent closures with the pandemic, and there's still a lot of transitioning happening. Maybe people are getting into the groove a little bit, and then September's going to hit with everyone going back to school, and there's going to be much more transition again for everyone. And as the little ones get used to going to school or learning online again, whatever it might happen to be for you. Many people have to adjust to all of these changes and recovering also from a period of pretty big stress. My mission here is to provide the guidance that can show you and teach you and lead you how to build your mental resilience, your emotional intelligence, and to become better at navigating stress that we encounter every day, and then to recover from that stress more quickly and easily, especially this chronic stress that we have an ongoing in our society today, and to be more resilient to stress that we might encounter tomorrow, ultimately living happier, more fulfilling, joyful lives. Today is the second week that we're going to discuss our relationship with food. Last week we covered the complexities of appetite. What does appetite actually entail? And it turns out there's a number of different factors that really influence appetite. It's not just feeding our bellies. I would argue that it very rarely is. The definition found in some of the research literature was appetite, which reflects a complex interaction among the external environmental behaviors, behavioral profile, and subjective states, as well as the storage of metabolism of energy, has an important role in the regulation of energy balance. So what does food feed then? Food can feed hunger for sure, but what kind of hunger? Hunger of our bellies, which might actually be hunger as in we need more energy, versus hunger of our heart, which often is emotional, hunger of our mouth, which is desire, hunger of our head. Lots of different versions as to how we are feeding ourselves. And how do you feel when you satisfy that hunger? And how do you feel an hour later, a day later? All of those different types of things. And emotions play a huge, huge role in it. The takeaway really is that we want to differentiate and identify the emotions that come up when we are associating these with eating, with cravings, with a desire, whatever it is and with that association to food. So we started with a model last week. Just move this over a little bit here. And it looks at all of the contributing factors for our eating habits. Last week we went through the external factors. So these are the availability of food, the social context that we're eating food in, and then the setting, which is actually our plate and that physical environment. And today we're going to go through some of the internal aspects. Our learned habit, and this is a pretty big category, a whole bunch of stuff is stuck in there. Our mood or emotions, our stress, our current stress level, and our body and metabolism is also grouped into one. We can influence all of these factors at some point. Sometimes earlier on in the process, sometimes later on, sometimes before that process even happens. And this is our goal, to influence the factors that impact our eating to improve our health, to improve control really over our lives, and to let go of obsession and tension with food in all different circumstances. It can really change the relationship with food. Last week, again, as I mentioned, we looked at all of those environmental factors, and so this week we're just going to look at the first 3 factors here. Our learned habits include then our behavioral expectations, what we might also consider our relationship with food up until this point. And just to dig into this one then a little bit deeper, it often feels like it could be the most difficult thing to impact is really our relationship with food. And that might seem a little bit farther down the line. And so we do all of these things so that we can start to influence it and start to change how we feel about it, how we interact with it. When we're mindful about hunger, about our emotions, and about our body sensations, and a specific food that we're considering, this becomes less automated. We have more choice over the food that we're eating, and it's not so much of this programmed, automated process that we just go through our day, putting things in our mouths, whatever it is. It becomes a more mindful decision. Consider your eating habits as you were growing up. Did you have dessert after every meal? Did you snack? Did you or your family snack often at night? What did you learn about food growing up? Do you have examples of eating in order to cope with certain emotions? And what was the times that you ate during the day? Did you ever feel food deprived? There's certain situations out there where certain food was off limits, even if it was fruits and vegetables. Maybe it was a cost thing, or maybe they were reserved for somebody special in the family. Did you ever feel like you couldn't have those things? And so maybe our comfort food, for a number of different reasons, often are the quick things, the things that we feel like are sneaky or cheating. Was food ever something in that sense that you needed to be sneaky about? Or maybe if you were getting candy or something that maybe you weren't supposed to, or maybe the candy was the go-to stuff because it was less expensive, especially if you had to buy it with your own money. If you buy cookies or sweets of some sort, do you ever forget about them in your cupboard? Are they gone before you can put them away in your cupboard? Or do you just eat a few, but then think of them often throughout the day, maybe even obsess about them? All of these questions help to demonstrate and unfold this relationship that you've developed over a lifetime with food. They influence our eating habits dramatically, and we often don't think about how they impact us in our adult life. But it's definitely time that we do that so that we can have more choice. Just acknowledging the answers to those questions, even you can pause this video, rewind it, go back through the whole thing. There will be copies of it online you can see, and then on YouTube as well. And just go through and answer those questions and see if you gain any insights that'll really help put things into perspective and help you make better choices of whatever you want your choices to be going forward. Our second point here is mood. And this looks at our current mood, our current emotions that you are feeling right in this moment, or right in the moment before you're going to engage with food, either shopping and buying it or eating it. And then the third one is our level of stress. What is our mental capacity right in this moment? Or when we're, again, trying to engage with the food. Often cooking will take time and people feel rushed, and that can be a stress. One way to understand our level of stress is to rate it on, and then once you have that number, with 1 being no stress at all, 10 being really, really high, we can bring it back to our model of our window of tolerance. Now in this model, we have our window, which is our space where we have all of our full decision-making mental capacities at full tilt. Our nervous systems and the parasympathetic, we're generally relaxed and can function well here. And then when we get outside our window, outside those limits, we start to get into the sympathetic nervous system, and our mental capacity, our choice making actually can go offline, and we default back to some of these programmed sort of danger responses that we might turn to when we're really, really quite stressed. And then there in those states, we have much less conscious choice. And so then we work to keep ourselves within that window of tolerance. That is our mission. And even to push the limits of where those limits of the window of tolerance are. We want to widen that window so that we can be more tolerant and less reactive to things, be more tolerant to stress, and have more choice in our actions, even when it seems to get at these end ranges. We still have then the ability to choose our own behaviors and ultimately influence the outcomes in a more effective way, in a way that we are choosing to improve your quality of life. So what are the solutions to these three elements that we identified? Our learned habits and our relationship with food, our current mood state and our emotion, and then our level of stress. The key is to first acknowledge the things that are influencing our choice of that moment. The most efficient and effective way to do this is to bring ourselves into a mindful state, which is a state of psychological awareness. Definition typically that goes along with a lot of the research is that mindfulness as a moment-to-moment awareness of one's experience without judgment. And so take yourself into a place, and it requires some cognitive, okay, I'm going to do this right now, some intention there. Think of a particular thing. Let's say the last thing that you ate, or maybe the last thing that you ate last night. Where did you first learn about this food? Have you had it before? Or was it something new? Is it nostalgic at all for you? Did you have it growing up? What emotions did eating that food evoke? And then a step farther back, what were the emotions at the time that you made the decision to eat that food? And what was your level of stress or mental capacity? These are great questions to explore. And when you want to investigate what your default programming is around food, those can help you to understand it a little bit better. Even greater is the impact when we ask these questions before a meal or a snack or before shopping, or at the last minute, at least before you even put it in your mouth. So we'll engage here in just a moment in our mindfulness practice, where we'll do that together. And just before we do that, I want you to grab a piece of paper, your phone, whatever it is, and write down your goals as they pertain to food. I asked you to do this last week as well, and I'll ask you to do it again, either revise the list if you want, or just check in, make sure that you have one there. So what are your goals? Possibly related to health concerns. Maybe it's weight loss, often that couples with food, very common. Maybe we want to improve our digestive health, feeling bloated, gassy, which can be embarrassing, maybe a lot of heartburn, which is uncomfortable. It might influence your day-to-day life, even bending over to tie a shoe, or maybe sleeping. Your overall health, maybe you want to stay youthful, wanting to be your best self. Improving your energy can be impacted by food. Generally feeling happier and more control over your life. And then in that sense of having more control over your life, more control over your eating, maybe there's emotional eating that you engage in, binge eating, overeating. So what are your health goals? Just write them all down. We're going to come back to those. So pick your top one and just think of it now. And then I'm going to get you to sit, or however comfortable you are, to do our mindfulness practice here. And I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And just tuning into your body to notice how you are feeling right now. What is your mood on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is very, very low or depressed, and 10 is happy, elated? Where do you find yourself? And then tapping into the emotions that contribute to your mood right now. Be sure to let the story go. Whatever it is that is inspiring this mood, right now that story is irrelevant. Just simply concentrate on those emotions that come up. What are those prominent emotions? Naming them can often be helpful, or simply feeling where those are in your body as a sensation. Maybe happy, angry, a little sad. And just to name those all in your head or out loud. And checking in, what is your level of stress on a scale of 1 to 10? Again, where 1 is 0, little to no stress, and 10 is the most extreme stress that you could experience. When your emotions, your mood, your level of stress are established, what are the sensations of your body that arise? When you tap into that emotion, do you feel a flutter in your gut? Or do you feel a pain in your knee? We often dismiss sensations that we're either used to or that we haven't associated with that particular thought process. It definitely has been the case that physical pain or sensations around the body can very much be linked to these emotions and a thought process, even if something like pain in your knee doesn't seem like it could be. What are the prominent body sensations that you're experiencing? And if you don't feel any loud sensations, excellent, that's great, that's right where you are. There will be more subtle body sensations that you can tune into. It's like fine-tuning a radio into those particular waves to hear them and getting quiet enough to feel them. Often the chatter of our own minds take over and we cannot always feel the sensations. But when we continue to go back, just bring your mind back to the idea that we're also tuning into sensations. As your mind wanders over and over again, bringing your mind back. That lesson, that practice of bringing your mind back is the practice of mindfulness. That is the most important aspect of this. So when your mind wanders, you get to celebrate, to practice bringing it back again. Bringing your mind back to scanning your body and noticing any sensations that you feel. Nothing here is wrong. Any sensation at all. It could be the floor under your feet, or the chair or cushion under your sits bones, your clothes on your body, maybe a breeze on your skin, or even a pet or child trying to climb up onto your lap. The rise and fall of your chest as you breathe, or your diaphragm as your abdomen moves in and out. Tune into these and just be aware without judgment. Just notice. It'll take a minute to do that. And one of the ways, if you find your mind wandering again, just to bring it back and be curious about that sensation. Where is it? How big is it? What's the intensity? If it had a color, what color would it be? If it had a shape, what shape would it be? And then just notice as it changes. And it will. Some last longer than others. And the thing that we can find comfort in and rely on is that the sensation will change. The sensation of your breathing in fills your body. It changes as we exhale. And now having an inventory of your mood and emotions and the level of stress, and a quick understanding of your body's sensations. Now think of the food that you intend to eat. Your next meal, perhaps. Or perhaps it was your last one. Whatever comes to mind. And then notice if anything, any of the sensations in your body, any of the emotions that you named before, anything that feels like a learned habit, perhaps, did any of those come to mind when you think of your food? And just notice without judgment. The way to understand that is through the body sensations and just noticing. What changed when you thought of your food? And notice as you think of your food and continue to hold that in your mind, as the body sensations might change. And as the emotions might change. And then notice as they start to morph and sometimes almost dissipate. And you can observe them without judgment. Not trying to change them, just to observe them. And now think of that top priority goal. And does the food that you pictured align with this goal? Note what sensations come up in your body as I just asked you to bring your goal into mind. Again, were there any shifts? Did you notice something more prominently speak to you? And picture yourself achieving this goal. Feeling fulfilled, happy, elated, celebrating. Allow this positive thought and feeling to flow through your body and flood all aspects of your body. And we want to hold this thought as long as we can going forward throughout the day. Notice what sensations you feel and where you feel them. Again, to just explore them without judgment. Can you picture feeling fulfilled and happy having achieved this goal? And if not, maybe just the first step that you've achieved. Something so you can really embody it and really feel that sensation. But it has to be true to you as well. And again, hold this feeling as long as you can in your body. As you start to wiggle your hands and your toes, your fingers, stretch your arms and your legs if you like. I wish you the best going forward in your day and your week. Thank you so much for sharing this morning with me. We're going to go over part 3 and complete our internal elements that impact our eating habits. And we'll touch on a few different types of medical conditions that can really influence our eating habits as well, and often our weight and fluctuations with that, which is always a hot topic. Today is day 15 of our 30-day challenge. I have absolutely loved hearing your messages and Instagrams and hearing about how all of these simple things are really impacting people throughout their day. I love the happy thoughts that you're sharing with me, first things in the morning that can impact our mood, and going forward with that. So our 4 things that I'm challenging you with is to, 1, think a positive thought for at least 17 seconds, the very, very, very first thing that you do in the morning when you wake up. Maybe after you shut an alarm off. Choose things that are light and easy, things that you can enjoy. This pillow is so comfortable, this bed is cozy, whatever it is, that just makes you joyful. 2, set a time to be mindful every single day. 2 times, once in the morning and once in the evening. Whatever time commitment you choose to do, stick with that. Incorporate at least 1 activity or exercise or physical movement. It can be short, it can be 5 minutes on the roller, it could be 2 minutes of yoga, whatever it is. And introduce this as something of a lifestyle. It will become easier and easier to incorporate into your life and improve your flexibility, mobility, strength, and then overall youthfulness as we need our bodies as we age. And then the 4th one, are breathing exercises. I find this amazing to do after work in the evening or afternoon, but I also do it on my way to work. Typically, it's about 20 minutes, and I stick to that commitment. You can do it during any other tasks in a meeting or while you're making food, whatever it is. Breathing in 4 counts through your nose and 8 counts out through your nose. It helps to bring up the activity of the parasympathetic nervous system and bring down our sympathetic nervous system, which is typically that agitation side of things. Thanks again so much for joining. Continue to post. Add any of these 4 things to your Instagrams or Facebooks, whatever you're doing. # Mental Fortress Mondays. Send me a message. I love hearing about these. I'll see you next week.